Hello, College COD, and welcome. The final qualification match of the entire season, the last stand, and we wouldn't have it any other way than David versus Goliath. Yes, that's right, Fisher Esports versus Buckeye COD. And joined alongside me today is going to be the beautiful Zepcasts, and it's going to be set for one of the greatest matches we've seen so far in CCL's history.
I just can't believe you added in the beautiful. I'm touched. But yes, we have some fantastic, well, we have had fantastic games throughout the broadcast, but now rounding it off, what should be an absolute cracker, Fisher Esports versus Buckeye COD. Of course, Fisher Esports, flawless on that record, 14-0, a team to be contended with. Really, no one can really touch them at the moment. Buckeye COD with a good record, but something that we have seen, you know, throughout the entirety of college COD so far this season is that if your record ain't perfect, it ain't good enough for the very top, because we have seen some teams go through with barely dropping a map. And you go through a lot of other leagues, a lot of other systems, and you see a team that's 13-1, 12-2, whatever it may be, you turn around and go, oh, they've had a pretty good season, you know, they're a pretty solid team. But it's no real indicator when it comes to the college COD, just because of that level, that gap in the skill across the entire board can be so varied. So it'll be fascinating to see how these teams fare out against each other, because again, we take a look at the stats right now. If you were to look at Buckeye CODs in any other circumstance, you'd be like, that's a pretty good season, but it pales in comparison to what Fisher Esports have put up.
And Fisher Esports, currently speaking, well, why are they in the lower bracket? They lost to St. Clair yesterday. That was a qualification match for them. They lost 3-1, and in reality, you know, we expected on paper to see Fisher go through with no problems, but against St. Clair, who right now are the informed team heading into the LAN event this May, I feel like this sort of raises alarm bells in the Fisher camp, already the reigning champions from last year, and again, hosted some of the greatest Call of Duty athletes that we've seen in our time. So, in terms of stature and expectation, Fisher is disappointed to be here in this position, but right now the full focus is on qualifying. Buckeye COD, however, they are a different kettle of fish. They started in losers round 2, they have fought their way through the bracket, and on the way they defeated Fisher Falcons. That's right, 3-1, 3 former pros, and then Buckeye COD out of nowhere 3-1'd you. We look towards the series today and whether they can replicate this against the main Fisher team. Red Card Dealership, Hacienda Skyline Rewind, a mix and match system, 5 completely beautiful scenes, but a red card hardpoint to open it up, that tells a big story.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and I gotta say, I'm loving the variety that we're seeing in the maps, especially through the CCL, such a varied map pool when it comes to the best of 5 selection. I mean, Connie, I don't remember if you were around for it, but long gone are the days of triple Tuscans that you would see practically weekly in a lot of these things. My word, that Vanguard year, it was tricky having to deal with one map over and over again, and you know, there was a time in Black Ops 6 where it looked like it was going to be the same, but thankfully players have adapted, adjusted, and really delved into the map pool that's there, and alongside with newer maps being added, such as Dealership, Hacienda, the return of Rewind, it's led to a pretty varied map pool on the regular now, which means that these players have to be ready with all assets and facets of their game. Red Card Hardpoint 1, that didn't really come through a lot to begin with. I think it was a lot of people's least favorite map, but then as people began to realize there was just more to the map in comparison to that of maybe like a Vault Search and Destroy or a Skyline, there was just a bit more nuance to the tactics and the actual spawn control. It became sort of an outsider favorite for teams who would go to practice set and then realize they might have a one-up on others if they throw it into the map pool. So it'll be interesting to see how well versed both of these sides are in this map. You would think by this point both of them have the reps, but how well they utilize those reps is to be determined here in this map 1.
And it's just a big indicator that Vault clearly in this stage is not as viable as it once was right at the start of January. It really has been quite a dramatic shift, but in the same level of concept, we have to look towards Fisher and Buckeye and just how they plan to attack this. Again, both teams bombing it towards the middle of the map. Stuns go over the top for information. Let's see exactly how we can divulge the kills.
So far getting mixy through the front, that checkerboard of kill feed style, but with Fisher Esports getting the majority, already sitting on point and have a pretty fair amount of mid control with Brack picking up the 2. You now have Buckeye COD sort of spawning out towards that P2 side. Of course, that's not the side you really want to be spawning on, even though it is close to the P2. That's the side you can really get funneled down if you're caught in there against a team who can outslay you. And Fisher Esports getting a lot of time for a P1 here, which already should be a worry for Buckeye, but maybe just starting off a little slow. They would have time to get into this one, but Brack with a huge 2 and the hip fire for the first kill as well. Already playing like a man full of confidence, 5-1 to begin with already.
And Fisher looks so proactive in this system. 30 points gained from the P1, left the remaining 30 contested. Buckeye already on the back foot. Brack, although first to touch time, has not secured spawns. Buckeye had a stack on that side of the map, and then the flip again. Dylan Rex already pushed far up from his holding life, but Buckeye to meet him causes Fisher to spawn right near the hill, ready for another hit. And lovely segmented kills. This is Fisher Esports already again starting to secure a lot of time over in Funfair. And shut his final push onto the hill, shut down clearly. Timmy Phantom stuck inside, soaking up all this time.
Very worrying sign so far for Buckeye CoD, because they have from time to time, especially on that P2 just there, found themselves in positions where they could at very least get in on the break and get one before getting traded out from the point, but not even being able to win those gunfights. I'm hesitant to say it, but I kind of will. The skill gap is kind of beginning to show itself early on. Either that or Buckeye CoD are just really not warm for this game whatsoever. Fisher Esports, credit to them. They've won a lot of gunfights. They've had no real right to win. They're holding point, whether they have spawns or not. They're just outslaying, and it's not looking good for Buckeye CoD as they need to get themselves rotated around for the point P5. A good reset point, or should I say P3, excuse me. It's a great reset point and one that you can kind of restart from after a shaky first two. But if Fisher Esports get broken in early, Buckeye CoD are going to find themselves really chasing this game.
Oh, a beautiful 3-1 split. Buckeye have spawns inside of parking lot, so they have the immediate pressure on front of the hill. Dylan Rex, though, the gun is up. The shots just about trade a simple one. And again, both teams funneling the way into the hill. It capitalizes with Buckeye and 28 seconds left to play for. This gap between Fisher and Buckeye, a beautiful 70 points and pure dominance so far. Darkside having a lights out map in the early quarter. We now have to look towards what's the proactive play for Buckeye. They're trying to get scrap time. Fisher take it instead. They decide, you know what, Chuck, I'm going to run around to the new hill. The spawns are locked in and Buckeye can start off a brand new set with 60 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, Buckeye got on that rotation now, need to make the most of it. You have two contrasting stories in terms of the top and bottom ends of the tables for both of these sides. On Fisher Esports side, you have a player performing in dark side, and to go on the other side though, Buckeye CoD, that fourth player, underperforming in the side of Yi. He's not been able to pull the numbers up as of yet. 3 and 12, has not been able to make his mark on the game. And of course, you're playing at this level. Having a player who are underperforming like that can unfortunately be the difference maker, especially when you're up against a team who seems happy to slay out as much as Fisher Esports are. They are getting this point cleared and are having to deal with very little hill pressure. The only time the Buckeye CoD have been able to pick up was some scrappy time at P1, and then when they got funneled through briefly onto that P3, they've had no map control as of yet. They haven't been dictating the flow of the game. They've been subservient to it, to that of what Fisher Esports has been offering up, and so far they do not look like they're going to be able to change that. As nearly 100 points deep, they go to reset again at a crucial P5, but already you look at the placement of the map, Fisher Esports are getting ready to orchestrate this pinch.
Beautiful idea from Dylan Rex, and again, from one punishing setup to another. Sad to say, Cinderella, 102 points to claw back to an even game. And Brack is taken off. Juicy just about hides away with his life. But looking at the spawns, Fisher every single time are securing them. And Buckeye fighting from the front. Not to say that their gun skill isn't that fair to match up against Fisher Esports. When it comes to the fundamentals, the boys in blue are controlling from start to finish. Although, in terms of holding, I think that's the first time we're seeing Fisher not really opt to soak up more time. They're stalling a little bit to try and get better positionings towards VIP, because that's Buckeye's best avenue to form an attack.
Fisher Esports realize at this point that they can just shut down this game from their positionings. They don't necessarily have to go out overslaying or hop directly onto the point as soon as it opens. Rather, they can pick up these positions, just get the wave, stat pad in a way that it's not just, again, for the stats, it actually works in terms of the map control, and then hop on the point from there. They've set themselves up in a real comfortable position now where they can choose to play this as they see fit. They're in no rush. They can just keep ticking away at that time, sort of hill by hill, moment by moment. Even if they play for a minority amount of time on the rest of the upcoming points, it would still be more than enough to take this one away from Buckeye CoD. But I think for Buckeye CoD at this point, they need to just try and find some sort of momentum to take into the next map, which is why they got to try and slay out. They got to try and get on this point and hold as much as they can and prove that they can cause this Fisher Esports side to bleed at least, because so far it's not looking like Buckeye are able to make any sort of dent in them.
Trades are good for Buckeye for this initial hold, and I'd say a good 40 seconds have gone into their back pocket. Fisher a little bit more stagnant in this opening break, and looking at the spawns for New, I mean, they've got parking lot. They, of course, have Dylan Rex splitting over to the other side of the map. So there's pressure from both angles where Buckeye have to make the intelligent read and the next play call. Over towards New is a 2-to-1 overload for Buckeye, and the remaining players are squabbling around mid, trying to flush out the remaining rats to get the exit kills. This pressure's key as Fisher touch time and get the first few seconds. It's down to Juicy, not just to clear, but call for reinforcements. It's a good split, a 2-1 feed.
The exit kills have been crucial for Fisher Esports as well in their control, and that as soon as they know where people are dying, they know where the enemy is going to be spawning, right? So they get so much control of knowing where everyone is and being able to get a read of the timings instead of being worried about someone flanking or disrupting the line. So even when it looks like maybe they're not playing directly towards that next hill and they go off to get a kill, they're doing it in a way where it clears that lane so they know where they have the guns up going next. Again, sort of an underrated strategy, but one they're being sort of afforded the ability to be able to do here. They don't need to have 4 guns facing forward against this opposition. So again, it goes back to this idea of they're really just focusing on the positioning. They're playing patient. They're making sure the lanes are locked down and that they're set for these next points. And already looking to get rotated over towards this P3. Of course, Buckeye CoD going to funnel down this one lane, which could lead for a lot for Darkside, but he gets a lot of information at least. His teammates will be able to come for the assist as Fisher Esports try to hold from the front. Phantoms as well, you have to give him so much credit just getting dropped from the hill there, but 18 and 14 with 1 minute 37 and point. He's been the one getting on, racking up that time with his side, around his side, but the credit has to go to the entire team, really. All 4 of them have been firing on all cylinders from the first point.
Buckeye now an opportunity again to try and recapture this hill. It was a good hold for the first 27, but the numbers, again, they have to play the game well. An average of 40 seconds per hill, stalling 19. It can't allow breathing room for Fisher, especially when Phantoms and Darkside and Brack all now crossing the 20 kills, but 200 to 97. The 100-point gap remains, and this might be the best position now for Buckeye CoD. Fisher absorbs scrap time, Juicy covering mid for the exits and the pressure read because they need a perfect hill, and on stage it can be doable. A lot of pressure on Gimby's shoulders to find these kills.
Yeah, last chance saloon for Buckeye CoD to sort of have a perfect hard point, if you will, but the Hellstorm raining for above. How many will it pick up? Just the one, doing less damage than they would have hoped for there, but Phantoms being able to pick up another, meaning they can go in for the push, get this hill broken from front, and that was just a little bit too easy for Fisher Esports, who are now going to be able to hold on to this time. They're pushing out the lane, they know where the spawns are coming from, and Buckeye CoD have just given up their last chance to get back into this game. Again, the KDs have improved. I mean, you look at Enigma, for example, on the side, 26 and 18, a good KD stat all round. In fact, the best, arguably, throughout the entire lobby, but only one player able to pull that, whereas Fisher Esports, they've been consistent in the KDs, doing it as a team, but more importantly, utilizing that by being able to hop on the time, making it count for something, which has been the key difference here for Fisher Esports as they take map number 1.
A clean-cut finish, and not even a close contest. Buckeye, they were pretty much held to the sword, start to finish, and it really was a beautiful display, especially Darkside in the opening stages, securing all the necessary kills to control the lanes, control the spawns. Brack as well, filling time, adding space. This is a lovely system they've installed, and we can sense already the revenge on their mind. They should have gone through against St. Clair. They didn't. We've already got Buckeye beating a Fisher Esports team. That was the Falcons. But to open it up, I mean, Fisher Esports do not want to be the second on the death note for Buckeye CoD.
Yeah, massive congratulations after that map 1. Fisher Esports with a truly dominant performance there, as you said, looking for vengeance and starting off in the right fashion, taking that map number 1 with ease, really, it has to be said, but with ease is in testament to how well they played together as a unit. I mean, you didn't have one player just popping off, carrying them through. It was all 4 just kind of operating like clockwork and not only picking up the kills, but holding their shape, playing towards a strategy, which is something I really respect. You can see in a lot of instances where a team might realize they have a game, they start pushing out, they start getting a little bit overzealous, start playing for those singular moments, the moments that we'll see clipped and put on socials. But Fisher Esports, credit to them, they just managed to lock in, they played the basics right, always sat in on every point, played around each other, had the picks, every angle watch, just didn't give Buckeye CoD room to breathe. Every kill, every moment they had, it was singular, it was fleeting. There was never any consistency established from it.
And that is what needs to happen. We float over to the line graph and just where Fisher Esports started to escalate. Well, Zep, to be quite clear, the only real sort of gap and margin where Buckeye started to revitalize and create the system was in the second set of rotations. They started to build a lead, but Fisher, because of their galactic effort right at the start, they just, again, showcased why they can chain P2 to P3, P3 to P4, and repeat the same cycle over and over again. Even on the hills, P1 and P5, where it tends to be more left-white, they still soak up time. Buckeye, I feel like the biggest problem we saw was who was controlling the spawns and then trusting the system because they weren't controlling the spawns. So it created this awful paradox where they were improvising on the fly, whereas Fisher stuck to the system, stuck to the plan. And if one person were to die, they pick it up. Their only real, of course, lapse was P5 to P1. You see it right there. That's Buckeye's big chunk of time where they got 30 seconds and left 30 contested for Fisher.
It was a case of Buckeye, I think, at that moment in time, you know, Fisher, they kind of realized they may have had the game at that point, started to play a little bit more stagnant. Buckeye CoD, they were able to capitalize on that as well with getting just a little bit more warm into the map, into the series. I think they really suffered to begin with from not being as warm and not understanding how Fisher Esports were going to play. But even at that, the gap that they managed to close was a minimal one, and they'll need to be able to do way more work throughout the course of this series if they want to try and pull anything back. But, you know, you touched on it when it comes to the pacing, when it comes to how Fisher Esports were playing. They were dictating the pace, and Buckeye CoD were not able to push against that pace whatsoever. They were subservient to it. They were subject to it. They were playing into the hands of Fisher Esports. They were never able to get in and disrupt the flow of what Fisher Esports wanted to do. When Fisher Esports wanted you to spawn somewhere, they were going to make you spawn somewhere. When they wanted to play it quick, it went quick, slow, positional, whatever it may be. Fisher Esports could have decided whatever they wanted in that map, and Buckeye CoD would have been left chasing from that. So they need to kind of alter things around in a certain way where they just start disrupting the flow. They just start maybe sitting in weird corners, taking weird routes, or taking things as a 4-stack head on to at least get a checkerboarded kill feed to where you might give a gap for one of your players to be able to run in and disrupt the sort of tightly knit system that Fisher Esports have in place. You just need to do something to fight sort of against the current, against the wave, instead of being kind of dragged along by it, which I think is a pretty good analysis for how Buckeye CoD were in that map number one. They were very much getting swept along the current that Fisher Esports had.
And also, it's just a call up for individuals. We noticed Juicy quite a fair bit throughout the lower bracket run as being that star player, and the pivot for Buckeye to suddenly capture a rich vein of form just wasn't there in map one. And I feel like, again, when you rely on that system, it can get you really far in a lower bracket run. Don't get me wrong, Zep. But now we're against the number one seed where everyone can be Juicy's level, if not better. So now, well, I'd say it comes down to elevating the remaining 3 players on the roster to a level where, you know what, Juicy can turn around and go, I think we need more out of you. We need more out of you. And they're going to have the fire and motivation to go out, slay, hold time, objectifies, control positions, and then create this tempo, which should counter Fisher, because Fisher's tempo is a rare combination of being really quick and really accurate.
Absolutely. And, you know, I would normally say that going into a search and destroy, it's a great chance to sort of change that pacing, sort of hit the reset button and show what you've got. But dealership search and destroy is just so small. I mean, it is a tiny map, and if you're a team like Fisher Esports that's playing with confidence, you can again just either run down your opposition, not give them a moment to breathe, not have any strategy pan out, or you can just play it really slow, let the opposition have to push you, have them practically walking into your lines of sights. I feel like a dealership is a type of map that really benefits from you having momentum in terms of your reaction times and your belief in yourself. But leading into map number 2, Buckeye CoD, they have to try and play this reset now. As the Fisher Esports go 2-0 up, Buckeye are in deep trouble.
And Darkside already spots 2, tag 1, stun check to clear, but the pressure's been identified already. Fisher's arrows now dart to cover, and Chut making a push around the back equalizes it into a humble 3v3. The bomb needs to commit towards the site, and already they have a player in Chut who's right near to cover. But now Gimby has to make the play call to either support Enigma or go for Chut. Instead, taking a long route to be safe, clearing angles. Fisher Esports just covering the north side of the map in their own spawn, looking like they want the post plant. They're gifting the post plant situation, and how are they going to strategize an attack back?
Great shots coming in here, but the kill is traded, making it actually a 1v1 here. So 38 seconds to get in, 30 seconds to get the defuse, really, as Igma and Darkseid face up against each other. Igma going to try and get pushed in, but rotates around the back. And V1s are always tentative. Will they spot each other? The spot does come in. The push happens and the kill comes through. Buckeye CoD taking round number 1. Such a massive round for them to get in this scenario to just, again, prove that they can do something against this Fisher Esports side.
And it also relates back to first blood placement. Of course, Darkside got it. But this is where I think a higher CoD made the better situational call. Again, they could have pressured Darkside to equalize the trade, but there was, you know, way too much coverage from Fisher. Instead, they repositioned. Once Chut equalized, they had full control of the site, commit to a post plant. They left in a 1v1. Enigma, big brain movements just to secure the timing and get the kill. Now the set nades go over the top. Darkside again, your point of contact to initiate this push, but Enigma again, first up to try and get Buckeye on the board.
And Fisher Esports were a little slow to take the bomb over towards A. I wonder if that was part of the strategy to make sure it was cleared. Who knows? But getting on the site, getting it locked down, and gonna again just play to run down this clock. And a 4v4 in this map, it's gonna be difficult enough to do so unless you can get that first blood kill, as Buckeye CoD are going to try and get round the back. You got a 2-2 pinch coming in the site here, but not doing it at the same time. That's not going to matter so far as Buckeye pick up 1.
Oh, and they're pinching Fisher into their own site. Well, that's 3v3. They got avenues now to attack, and look at what the arrows are focused for Fisher. Juicy's on for a flank around the back, but he's been tagged as well. Oh, a lovely bait and switch, double check Fisher. In the post plant, they secured the win. And again, different rounds in the opening here, Zep. The first one was down to a 1v1. Both teams full sending it, trying to see, you know, can the numbers favor us in the end? This was much more structured, and even both strategies for Fisher and Buckeye were impressive. 4 people on the site, 2 players either side pinching for Buckeye, but again, Fisher had the timing. Now we look over towards an attacking round for Buckeye. In this instance, again, similar to last, they float over towards B. That's the opening tendency, but the set play call this time, we're going to be seeing Chuck carrying the bomb. Again, they meet in the middle, heavy gunfights taking place, and it just comes down to a 1v1, but that was a blink and you'll miss it finish. Buckeye get it in the end, the one lurking player on the outside, mopping up the mess.
One of the quickest rounds I think you'll ever see on this map, and again, I think going back to the last round, it shows that Buckeye CoD are playing the Search and Destroy way better than the hardpoint, right? Because again, trying to go in that pinch in the previous round towards the point nearly works. They just found themselves on the unlucky side of a pinch where if one side goes down, the team that's defending instantly knows where to turn and look instead of having to second guess. But Buckeye CoD, again, orchestrating a pinch that, for the most part, was pretty nice, and then going in, playing a checkerboarded kill feed in what was a lightning round number 3. It shows that they're ready to take it to Fisher Esports here. That's not going to be an easy day for them whatsoever.
Information, nothing gained from the set utility. And now both teams are just throwing shoulders, drilling around. Brack is the closest to the opposition, but Dylan Rex, he secures that first blood from a mistake via Buckeye. And now, look at what is left open. A huge hole in the middle, but Fisher, they're grouping towards the north side of the map where Buckeye have placed their troops. Nothing more can be said. Brack and Darkside cleaning up the extras. And I feel like, again, if you were to break it down, I feel like Fisher, even in the heads-to-heads with even numbers for both teams, they just have the, you know, the higher awareness, that extra sixth sense. You know, former professional players, top-tier challengers players. This is the sort of caliber you expect, especially from a team that has met so many elites in prior titles, and in this one, they continue to shine.
I'm noticing a lot of the gunfights that Brack has taken as well. He's very happy to be able to shoot from the hip. I think even with the pistol, sort of relying on the trigger finger. When he gets up close, he doesn't make the mistake of holding his aim a little too long. He takes the shots from the hip first and then aims in while doing so. Again, just a kind of a testament to the quality, confidence that Fisher Esports bring. It will be a case of Buckeye get this one that'll be a stolen game, I think, rather than the best team winning. But you'll take what you can get, right?
Beautiful set piece, and Fisher have just completely collapsed Buckeye. This time the opener was that wonderful nade over the top. Darkside, I can't believe it. I mean, in terms of expectations, I think now this is not just, you know, a sprint to the middle, you know, very Mikado-like, where you commit and expect to meet a 4v4 on the opening break. But that right there is, I think, probably one of the greatest nade school opportunities, where now it's going to completely change Buckeye's break-off. I mean, Fisher capitalized beautifully. They take the lead in the search and destroy. And it's all about the tempo, and the speed. What can they bring in this round? Again, watch out for the set utility, nades and stuns for information as they gather a tactical approach to the south side. Another one to add to the collection. 4v3. This time Brack is the person taking them to school.
Esports love the nades. They love the gunplay. It took them a couple of rounds, but they've really gotten into the swing of things here. Is Phantom going for the third, locking it down. Fisher Esports taking another round, 3 in a row. They've found the momentum to chain these rounds together, and a couple of shaky starts, tit for tat, making it, I believe it was 2-1 at one point. But as soon as Fisher Esports lock in, they find the nade spots. Again, as you talked about, the tempo and speed, as soon as they're able to dictate that to their opposition, Buckeye CoD have been struggling to deal with that ever since. Pinpoint nades, pinpoint accuracy with the gunshots, and having these rounds flying by now.
You know, this is my first time casting Dealership Zap, and the thing that stands out to me most is just how long the rounds last. The average so far is 13 seconds. Let's see if we can extend this one a little bit. Phantoms again, throwing set nades. This time Buckeye get out the way. But what more do you have to do? Fisher. This is a lovely 3v2 they've set themselves up in. Again, Buckeye funneling through a closed lane, creating these awkward paradigms. But then we look towards Fisher. They keep adding more kills. This time, Shut has walked into the crosshairs. Juicy left in a 1v3. If anyone can do it with the time allowed, Juicy's got plenty of room to work with, but the HP not to match. Fisher Esports, they cleared them out. 5-2 Zep.
It feels like at this point the result is imminent. Fisher Esports firing on all cylinders, every player popping off. They're just boxing the side in immaculately, right? I mean, not giving them room to breathe. As soon as they choose a site, they just close in on that site and just get in and around them. And, you know, to your point with how quick the rounds have been going, the fact that that was one of the longest rounds is sort of insanity. Again, very weird to me that Dealership as a map got brought in. I don't think the community was hearkening on for an even smaller map to come into the pool. But alas, here we are, as Fisher Esports won't complain, as they're about to make it a very quick search and destroy map too for them, it seems.
It ships in the night, Zep. They've both predicted different lanes as a 4. So the wrap will come back to Buckeye. Fisher are trying to get the post plant. Shut gets the first blood because of the positional change. Now Fisher can read the pressure, but because of the opening engagement, a 2v3 post plant, Fisher have to find kills, and Shut's gone for a really deep wrap around the back. Dylan Rex taken care of. Phantom's left in a 1v1, and Shut. That wrap paid off in the end. We're not going to be seeing a 2-0 start for Fisher. An extra round added to the catalogue for Buckeye, and it's 3-5. Whoa. Still looming threat, and Fisher can close it out anytime. But that right there, Buckeye first blood, Buckeye conversion.
Throwing themselves a lifeline, but a long way to go yet. It seems like the only rounds Buckeye are able to take is when they sort of rely on that checkerboarded kill feed trade system, when kind of any sort of semblance of a hole goes out the window and it just comes down to sheer 1v1v1v1 gunfights where they're able to get on top of. But outside of that, if Fisher Esports get any sort of control and find themselves at first blood, there's just little to no chance for Buckeye here. We could be seeing another quick round underway as they are getting wiped with the first blood going to Fisher.
Oh, every bit of utility thrown from the belt of all 8 players. Enigma, though, holding the gun up. The slide's too good. Darkside draws it. Chut and Juicy all gone down as well. And Gimby was the island player. Someone dived out the window onto the bonnet of a car. Fisher, 6-2. And 2-0 in the series. It feels like only 17 minutes has passed, one of the fastest S&D maps to be played. Dealership definitely on the cards for one of the more interesting playstyles adopted from any team at any tier of Call of Duty. But simply put, Fisher, they want a ticket to San Antonio. They should have got it yesterday. They're now fighting through Plan B, and they're one map away from getting themselves 4 seats on that plane.
Yeah, massive congratulations for the way that they played that round. Again, winning the majority on eliminations as you would in sort of a smaller map and getting plenty of first bloods as well. But Buckeye CoD picking up a few here and there. But again, for the most part, Buckeye CoD, the moments that they had, it's exactly what it was. It was just moments, fleeting moments. Fisher Esports, they've established a level of consistency, even when they're a little bit slow to get off the mark. As soon as they find that rhythm, and believe me, they do find the rhythm, they run with it. There's never really a shake up in the system. It's just about cracking the code, you know, finding their way into that safe. And once they do, they're just reaping the rewards. My Buckeye CoD never seem to be able to find the answers.
Absolutely, and there's also just a couple more connotations to this one. With Fisher only a map away from going to San Antonio, they're going to need to, rearm themselves. If we were to see either team going through to LAN, why not mention, of course, our tournament headline sponsor and longtime partner, Scuff Gaming. The elite controllers, some of the very best on the market, and one of our nearest and dearest. Make sure, again, that if you want to play like the best players in the world, Scuff Gaming's always there to help. But let's go to a quick break. Let's take some time to debrief. Buckeye need to reassess their options. That's been 17 minutes and 2 maps have flashed before their eyes. Backs against the wall. We return to potentially the penultimate map of the series, or will Buckeye find a way back in? Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. Welcome back, everyone, and just to catch up on what's happened, Fisher Esports, 17 minutes, 2 maps on the board. Buckeye CoD, I must say, in terms of their Cinderella run, it could come to a drastic end. They already beaten the Fisher Falcons 3-1 in a tremendous upset. 3 former pros and 1 college CoD team don't mix. So this is now Fisher's revenge story and their ticket to San Antonio. That's what's on the line. Or Buckeye string 3 maps and, cause the upset again. We go into a Hacienda control up next, and this is a map that heavily favors Fisher because of the players on the roster. You have people like Brack, who have won crucial CoD World League Grand Finals level series on this map mode combination, alongside, again, Timmy Phantoms. This is just not, what we expect, but it's simply maybe a story that's already written, Zeb.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a fan of Buckeye, you'll look to whatever positive you can take, but there is next to no positives to find here. A Hacienda Control, going to be a map that really falls into the wheelhouse of Fisher Esports, and even if somehow we make it to a map number 4, if you go into a Skyline Hardpoint, I mean, you talk about a mixy map full of engagement, that is just going to be one that Fisher Esports will be able to wrap up no problem. If they somehow drop this map, they'll be out for vengeance, then they'll want to get that one wrapped up quick. So potentially seeing a series speed run here, and that's with all due respect to the opposition, but I think we're going to see a very, very quick one here in the Hacienda Control.
It is to be expected, but will Ohio State surprise us? They've surprised us so far throughout all the CCL playoffs. They've secured top 6, but they want to go to San Antonio and really prove themselves across the states. So this is it. Potentially the final map. Extensions are there if we need it. Fisher Esports sending it all the way over to A, and the nades fly high.
And Fisher Esports trying to get straight in for that mid control, it seems, as well, just to get an initial wave and then decide from there, but not really running into much. So going the underside to B as Enigma tries to pick up a couple of kills, and so far we're not seeing any real structure take place, but Fisher Esports vying for that top plat control already. You see Dylan Rex, he's just going to be holding that plat / office, and if he can stay there, that's going to be a huge position to keep. But moving towards 10, they try to collapse in the point, but now they're going to get pushed out through the B side, and just like that, a couple of kills, and you have complete control. And that's just because they afforded the ability to be able to move so far up without getting into any real mixy engagements. I mean, you had a couple of players that found themselves on plat virtually uncontested, and at that point, just getting 1 kill means or 1 or 2 kills is going to mean that you have the opposition virtually spawn trapped.
And this is just beautiful. Dylan Rex, support and cast Phantoms. They secure B by themselves, and Darkside is in the enemy spawn, just, putting them through the grinder. They are coming out as a paste, Buckeye CoD. It is rough. 29-17. They've left Dylan Rex alone on A. They're relying so much on the team just to stall this, and I think the stall might nearly be long enough. It's now down to Brack again to cover. They are now seeing the hole punched by Buckeye. Dylan Rex is pre-firing the door. Knowledge, map knowledge, you have to understand the level we are seeing here today. Oh, the first contest, and Buckeye, they capture it off. It's only down to Darkside again. Will he convert it? Yes, he will, all by himself. That was one of the more interesting openings, but at the same time, that was probably one of the most effective spawn traps we've seen so far in Hacienda. I mean, Dylan, that is just crucial CoD gameplay from Fisher.
I mean, only dropping, I think, like 5 lives in the end up, which is insanity. Only dropping 1 life to get into that position to where, realistically, they could have just collapsed back in and played the point and played the capture, but they stayed up to play for the kills, meaning they dropped a few extra lives. But I mean, bypassing the mid control completely, it seems, just going straight in for that plat area, getting plat and office locked down. From there, being able to collapse in on B, get a couple of picks at players rotating towards the B side on the defense. And then at that point, with office control, you have a player who's remained at B just be able to move up towards the wide. You have a player who's played plat and office being able to hold from the center, and a player who's able to move up towards the boathouse, just leaving Buckeye completely pinned back. As you were talking about, it was the sort of definition of how to play a good spawn trap, as Buckeye CoD struggling for an answer, but starting off the round pretty well. 2 kills.
And it's an opening that where we start to see the stack. It's interesting. Buckeye CoD know that in terms of head-to-head, Fisher Esports got the gun skill. So you might as well just stack time and just remove these points as soon as possible. Dylan Rex, though, slides away from 2. The final trade. This is where Buckeye start to open up proceedings. That was thanks to Enigma. And look at the way they're covering this map, Fisher. They've got 2 in the north, 2 in the south, and they're just using mid as a gateway, you know, to cover these areas and create these beautiful pockets of space. It's just covering Buckeye across every single favored avenue to try and get an attack formed.
And Buckeye, credit to them, they got a couple of ticks over at that B, but Fisher Esports have played the regain here, although Gimby with a couple of nice kills pulling out the pistol there to get 1. And hang on a minute, shot with 1 means you have 3 down and maybe could get moved towards the site, but you need to get that office control. And having Yi sort of playing towards that A point, getting wiped off quickly instead of hopping up top, I think is a bit of a difference maker. And, you know, you look at the spread as well, you've got Enigma who's just cut through mid now to get into the office point, it seems, but Yi playing wide on the rock. And I don't think, with the greatest respect, that Buckeye CoD can afford to be playing so wide from each other against an opposition like this. As you alluded to, they've played the stacks, and I think that's how they have to play. Instead of isolating the 1v1s, they got to be hopping on board with the trades and just trying to come out on top of a checkerboard kill feed, or else they may have moments where, as they said, they capture the B, but when you get to a point like A, they're not holding hands when they get to that point. They'll just get picked off from all angles, and Fisher Esports will retain complete mid control.
And Fisher are holding this lovely diamond of Brack, Darkside, and Dylan Rex from lobby to mid, where Buckeye, again, they've just lost 6 lives concurrent. They're being trapped in their own spawn. Their only real avenue to break out of this is a deep south flank, which takes about 30 seconds off your clock, when we know that Fisher, in this instance, can just hold the guns. They know, all at this point, let's predict where they're going to come from. Buckeye, the south side of the map, Phantom's got position here to cover 3 angles. But now, as we mentioned before, they have to have 3 players to 1 and constantly man-mark an individual on Fisher to even have a chance of breaking through, because they're so good at setting traps and deploying them.
And just 40 seconds left to go now as well. 12-9, Buckeye CoD's lives are dwindling as they'll make a couple of last gasp push towards the point. Unfortunately, in a position where they kind of have to win an offense at this point, so even just getting a couple of ticks isn't going to be enough. They have to go all the way. They need to get a clean wipe and hold the point and get no more than 1 at a time, which allows Fisher Esports just to re-pick up their positions by the time Buckeye get anywhere near rotated. And even at that, you get Buckeye just completely dropped as a side before they get anywhere near. We've seen Enigma completely shut down. A large contrast to him being the sort of diamond in the rough player in that map number 1 for this side. But as the timer dwindles down, Chut picks up a 2, but the dash to A just about getting there at 0.1, but the result's inevitable. Fisher Esports taking another round, just 1 round away from speedrunning their way through this series.
Fisher are pumped up now at this point, and Buckeye are really panicking. Have they given up yet? I don't know. We haven't got access to the comms, but let's just say right now it's 2 very different leaders displaying 2 very different codes of conduct, Zep.
Yeah. I can imagine that's the case at this point. I mean, look, it's a disparity in skill level at the end of the day, and you have to give so much credit for the side of Buckeye CoD for how far they've gotten. It's been such a commendable effort from them, but you know, once you meet up against the very best, that's where the levels get set. It's once in a blue moon you'll see a result go the wrong way in a matchup such as this. But again, I'll give credit to Fisher Esports. They're being methodical. As you said, they're going out for vengeance. They're not underestimating their opposition. They're going in, playing as a unit, trading off each other, and getting the job done quickly, efficiently, and effectively.
And look at what Buckeye are trying to do here, just sending it through mid. Fisher take the south side of the map for control purposes, and Darkside even can't deal with 2 barrels to 1 in that instance, but Buckeye's opening here is quite good. They've had a really good meal of processing players, but listen, this is where Fisher have this beautiful set piece on B. They'll go for at least 2 tiers. No matter who dies off that, they're going to have the insurance policy. And in terms of floating, I expect Fisher now from this position to either convert B or start getting time on A to draw Buckeye away, because at this point, Buckeye have to fend off the ball. That is Fisher Esports. And let's see how they can manage to tackle all this pressure.
I mean, they just play the controls so well, right? I mean, just pushing through all the angles. They're aggressive with it. They're playing at a pace as well. You can tell when Buckeye CoD were playing through the similar angles on their offensive rounds, there was an air of tentativeness to it, a bit of fear, again, just recognition at the level of the opposition that they can't go flying in without their gun up and ready. But I feel like no matter what way they take on the gunfights, it's just, again, a matter of inevitability. Is this capture is going to come in onto this B point quite comfortably, 23-19. They can now work their way towards A, but better than that, they're deciding they want to work their way towards the spawn and just start dwindling these lives, and in great positions to do so. They just get pushed up so quickly with ease. They never look like they have to win a series of fights towards the middle of the map to get here. They just seem to find themselves here, and once they're here, it's very difficult to get them out.
So punishing, Zep. They found a hole to punch through the back line, but even so, Brack is throwing nades from the other side of the map. I mean, this is just map knowledge to a T, and spawn timings to a T. It's always punishing and control. Phantoms are just holding down one lane on a 5 spree. Darkside adding more to his tally, 20-9. 1 minute 30 on the clock. It doesn't even matter. The only person to break through is Juicy, and even he is waiting to find an angle to find a punch. And this is just, you know, so silky. Darkside gets on the point. Dylan Rex is clearing the outside. No one else in the supporting cast can get near. Buckeye are getting farmed inside of Boathouse. 4 lives remaining. And the final push, the last stand for Ohio State to stake their claim. But Fisher Esports, they are undeniable. They've punched a beautiful victory, a 3-0 finish. Cinderella, sadly, bowing out of the tournament at top 6. But this was no back and forth rodeo. It's Fisher Esports, they're going to San Antonio.
Yeah, massive commiserations to Buckeye CoD. That was a demoralizing loss as they got just dominated, decimated, demolished, all the words you can think of, all of the Ds, they got them, as it was just a complete run through in the end up. And again, I think you just have to give so much credit to Fisher Esports for the way that they played that game. I know I've been harping on about that, but I have a respect for a team who recognizes the level of their opposition and goes in and plays their best CoD against them and gets the job done and never break away from that team setup, still playing how you would against a side that has a little more of the level, and just kind of giving them a bit of an education as to how and why that particular strategy would work. And for Buckeye CoD, they've had a terrific run, of course, through the CCL, putting up a great fight and showing glimpses and moments here and there as to why players have been able to drag their side through the mud and get them as far as they did. But again, sort of individuals and relying on moments will only get you so far. Fisher Esports, they just had that consistency, not as a 2, not as a 3, but as a 4, how they played as individuals together on each mode. They just had it all in the backpack to make it an easy victory for them.
And what this now means, Zep, is we have our 4 teams confirmed for LAN. It's Northwood, St. Clair, Oklahoma Christian, and now Fisher. The stage is set for the final showdown in San Antonio, Texas. This is where we start to, you know, look back and reflect. I mean, over 200 plus teams entered this tournament at one stage. Now we have 4 left. We said goodbye to 30, 32, 24. Yeah, it's been quite an emotional playoff period, but I must say it's been damn good to watch.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch in what has been a terrific season of the CCL. You know, it's been such a pleasure to be a part of it as well for you and I on the European side of things, getting the opportunity to come over and even work with the CCL, getting the cast, check out all these games, the American players, and seeing what's being done with the CCL. It's been a terrific privilege just for us as well to have this kind of this angle and this view on it from the side of the caster booth. So it's a massive thank you to the CCL for that, and a massive thank you as well to, you know, to all the teams as well who took part. You know, it's been so much fun to watch them take part and just have a go at things and see how far they get. There's been such a disparity in the skill level from time to time, but you're never going to know where you're at without giving it a go, and the CCL is a prime opportunity to be able to do just that.
And Zep, how have you felt so far casting? I mean, we're both debutants this year in CCL, and it's the first time we've had Europeans come across the pond since the Great Infinity. So it's been a long time coming to have a new wave of European talent, but I mean, how has it been for you? For me, it's been absolutely stellar, and I'll touch upon it more once you get out your final closing remarks.
Yeah, well, I mean, it has just been a lot of fun. Again, as you know, as well, you know, as casters, we're always kind of looking for opportunities to grow and to get to work on new things, and to be afforded the opportunity by the team of the CCL to have us over and commentating on these things, and also just have the chance to work with the team as well. I mean, there's so many terrific casters that are in the pool as well of casters, and each and every person that we've had the opportunity to co-cast with on any given day at any given time, which, believe me, for us on the European side of things, those times can get a little bit all over the place, but it still ends up just being such a privilege. You know, whoever you're sat at the other end of the booth with or in the call, you know, whether it's the director, the producers, the observers, whoever it may be, the entire team is such a pleasure to work with. And, you know, it's getting to be a part of projects like this and see how it all comes to a head, even with the opportunity that all these teams are going to get with a LAN next month. It kind of just puts a smile on your face and reminds you of why you're in it. You're in it for the love of the game. We're all in it because we love what we do. We love Call of Duty, and being a part of something like the CCL just reminds us of that.
Absolutely. I mean, my story's a little bit different. I've wanted to work this since MW 2020, since the infamous Texas Concord Maroon final online. Yeah, that was when I first watched it and thought, I really want to be involved in that. 5 years later, what a dream's come true. And there's so many thank yous to go around from top to bottom of the CCL staff and NECC. But I feel like, again, it's been a beautiful showing, and we're so grateful to be here to bring you the coverage of all the action live. Now, for the final sign-off, and Connie and Zep to say goodbye and close the show, thank you for watching. The next installment is going to be in person. LAN, San Antonio, and what awaits over the horizon? Well, we're going to crown a champion. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon for what is going to be the grandest stage of them all.